be an issue. 1 second. You know that Jeopardy music? Anybody know the song? So, yeah. Thank you so much for coming. It's really an honor to be with you all tonight. And before we start, I know we're coming all from different places in the world, different boroughs of New York, and different states of mind. So I'd just like to offer a little prayer before I start. And we can just say a prayer together and to invoke auspiciousness in tonight's Sangha. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So tonight's topic is say no to junk. Has anybody moved before from one house to another? It's amazing how much junk we accumulate, right? I remember when we moved from our one family house to the other family house when I graduated college. My parents were downsizing, as people do. We had so much baggage that we brought over from things that we've collected over like the 15 years or 10 years we were living in that house that we had to hire. It was called, if you ever need this company, it's called 1-800-JUNK. This is a sponsored event. 1-800-JUNK is sponsoring tonight's program. So 1-800-JUNK, my parents called this company, and basically they are specialized in hauling junk away, things that you've accumulated. And these were things that we at one time valued, but we just threw away that we forgot. So I wanted to discuss a little bit about what is junk and how we can say no to it. So this can work on multiple platforms. So wherever you are, I hope this is of some value. So we have many aspirations for our lives. We may have like professional goals, relationship goals, family goals, body goals, and so on and so forth. But often we come short of those aspirations due to one important factor, and that is, didn't change in the other one. I'm close. Distractions. It's going to take a second for me to get used to. So we have many distractions in this world that kind of impedes us from reaching our goals. Has anybody had a distraction that they don't mind sharing? Quick share. Yeah, Rob. Television. Anybody else? Yeah. YouTube. Instagram. Oh, everybody else is a sage, right? WhatsApp. That's a distraction I just want to throw off there. WhatsApp. So if anybody was there for our digital detox retreat, we took a digital detox retreat in July. It's the July 4th weekend. Louis was there, Nick was there, Krishna was there. And I remember when I first got my phone back and I opened my WhatsApp, there were over like how many? Like 300 messages. 400. How many do you have, Krishna? It was like, do you guys remember how many?
I didn't even want to plug the phone in. I was just like, I don't even want to see it.
I had like 400 messages, and at one WhatsApp group, they tagged me. They're like, "Where's Hadai? He's not being responsible. He's not responding." And then the problem just solved itself at the end of the chat. So I'm not really that needed. Not that needed. So have you noticed that it's very easy to slip into bad habits? It's very easy to slip into bad habits, but very hard to slip into. You can't slip into a good habit. It has to be an intentional thing that you're trying to develop and grow. So we have a way in this world to remain distracted for a very, very long period of time. And this age is actually the age of distraction. And I hope to prove it to you with my next slide. This slide may change your life. It may change your life. It may cause people to cry. It may cause people to get angry. But I promise you, it only gets more depressing.
Like Buddha.
So let us go. This is your life. If you're expectant to live 90 years, and every circle represents 1 month of your life. Not that many, right? So one row is 36 months, which is 3 years. So this, if you're an 18-year-old and if you have good health and this is a very honest way of looking at things, and this is a very if all things go right, you survive to 90. If all things go right, your health is good, you don't smoke, and all this stuff, you reach 90. I'm just gonna get my notes. So there's an optimistic lens of what you kind of have left. And so just take that in for a moment. And I'm sorry to say, it does kind of, I promise you, it gets more depressing than this. So, this is what is for the next 288 months of those will be sleep, 1/3 of your life, if you sleep 8 hours a day, which I know a lot of you don't. But if you sleep about 8 hours a day, which is doctor recommended, and naturally your body goes back to that system, it's 1/3 of your life. And 126 months in school, 36 months in cooking and eating, 18 in driving, and then we have 27 months in the bathroom. I encourage people to not reduce that time, please. 27 months in the bathroom and hygiene. Optimistically, this is very optimistically, you have 334 months. That is where you pursue your passions, you make your mark, you invest in your different projects, you invest in spirituality. It's an investment. So based on what you do with this time, it will determine what you become in life. Your body, your mind, your actions are actively being controlled by the decisions you make today. So let's take a moment and think. We have 334 months left. Think about in your head. Just take a moment and think, what would you want to do with that time? Who would you want to spend that time with? What purpose do you want to fulfill in that time? Maybe it's a bucket list. Maybe you want to see the top of Mount Everest. Maybe there's like some goal you want to, maybe you want to be in the Fortune 500. What goal do you want to fill in those 334 months? So just think about that for a second. And as I promised, it gets kind of worse. The average 18-year-old spends about 93% of the remainder of time in front of a screen. Not counting work in school. People think, oh, I'm working on school projects, I'm doing schoolwork. That's excluding that time. Think about this, is that if any one of your minds, did the idea come that, oh, to lead a more fulfilling life, maybe binge watching TikTok, maybe scrolling to binge watching Instagram, playing a bunch of video games, Modern Warfare. Did any of those thoughts come up in your mind? No. It was about your families. It was about your career. It was about your passions. That's what came up in your mind, right? Right or right? Right. So, so think about the age of 90. When you get to the age of 90, if we get there, that's a big delta in the whole operation. Is we get there and we look back at all the things you're not able to accomplish because of distraction. What do you think the and just think about it on the other aspect. What do you think of 20? This equals 26 years. If 334 months, about 26 years. What do you think that looks like in that does to your brain? The average TikTok is about what, 15 seconds? I think the statistic is at 55% of websites are only looked at for about 15 seconds. So this averages, if you want to know the average, this averages about 8 hours and 39 minutes on the phone every day. And if you're doing that, this is the life that you're kind of aiming towards. So if you look at somebody who's spending that amount of time in 15-second increments, you're looking at a person who's chronically distracted, right? Who cannot focus for one moment on one single thing. They must take constant breaks. And we already know the big link between mental health, depression, anxiety, and social media, and all these things. Now imagine somebody with this type of lifestyle being distracted and being distracted like this. Nobody wants this. So the point why I'm showing you this is that there is a great consequence to choosing to live distracted. We all have to make a conscious choice. We all have choices in this world. The ancient Vedic scriptures say that there's Ishvar Tattva, which is Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is the material world, and then there is us, who are called Tatashta Shakti. Tatashta Shakti means we can go either spiritual or we can go material. We have that choice. We are spiritual beings, but we can always have that choice. So we have free will. Hare Krishna. We have free will in what we're able to do every day. So I'll just go on, and I hope this was a nice little. Was that too depressing? Yes. I'm so sorry.
It's good though.
Yeah.
It's good for us.
Christina missed out all the depressing parts, but it's okay. I'll look forward to depressing you guys more. I hope the next part is fine.
We need this.
Yes. So, Srila Prabhupada, our founder, Acharya, he says one thing in the Srimad Bhagavatam. He says, when people look at all the stars at night, an intelligent person asks, where does this all come from? Where does this all come from? Unfortunately, people nowadays have stopped questioning, and when we're young, you always ask, Mom, why is the stars like that? Why is it like this? Why is it like that? But then when we get older, we just go along with kind of life, and we set our goals based on what society wants us to do. What our society? Okay, by 25 I gotta have a job. By 30 I gotta have 2 kids at least. By 35 I gotta do this. 40, so on. But we're running on the dictation of a society. We're not running on the dictation of our own conscious life. So I had one more. John Lennon told a great story about happiness. I'd like to share this with you. Anybody know John Lennon? From the previous generation, maybe? Premani does not know John Lennon? Oh, you know John Lennon. Okay. I didn't know John Lennon until I joined the Hare Krishna movement. People like always like bring like John Lennon, George Harrison, like they're like the biggest guys. I'm like, I don't know who these guys are.
Wow.
So I didn't know the Beatles much, but he's told a story about happiness, and then so basically the story goes that when John Lennon was a student, they asked him, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And the teacher asked him to draw, and some people said astronaut, some people said doctor, but John Lennon drew this on his picture. He drew a nice big smiley face, and when the teacher asked, "You not really understood the assignment?" And then John Lennon apparently replied, "You have not understood life." So when we grow up and we just kind of go along, we set our goals based on just what profession we want to do, which has some substantial reasoning for it. But we must not forget about the ultimate goal of this is actually to be happy, right? We want to have this nice life to actually be happy. Now, we can go to. There's another story. I heard this also, and if you know the story, don't ruin it. There's one time someone's coming to New York and they're having a party and they get a hotel at a ritzy hotel on Billionaires Row, by Central Park, and they live on the 100th floor. They got an apartment at the 100th floor. So they leave their bags there, and then they come and they go party all night. And afterwards, they're like, okay, we partied, and we get to the hotel. And their worst nightmare when they first walk in to the hotel, they see a sign in front of the elevator that says "Elevator out of order." And they live on the 100th floor. Now the guys are like, okay, what am I gonna do? And then so they're just like, we're gonna bite the bullet. We're gonna bite the bullet, and we're gonna start walking up these stairs. And they start climbing up these stairs that seems to go forever. And then so the party's like the group of friends are like, okay, let's start telling some stories to distract us from these things. So they start saying some funny stories, and then there's one friend who was kind of silent and kind of quiet, and then so he's just like going up, and then the other friends, they get to the 80th floor, and then the friends are like, why are you so quiet? Why don't you tell us a story? And he's like, nah, I'm not in the mood, man. I'm not in the mood. And then they're like, no, go on. We're almost there. Just tell us. He's like, I only know a tragedy. And then they're like, okay, tell the tragedy. He says, the story is, we're on the 80th floor. We're almost there. But we're almost to the 100th floor. But the tragedy is, I left the hotel key at the bottom. So the story is trying to illustrate, perhaps that's a metaphor actually that's the story of our life, is that people are rising economically, people are rising technologically, they're rising and rising, but for maybe they forgot the key to happiness kind of down on the bottom, right? Does this resonate with somebody? Yes? Can I get a verbal yes?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. It's like an airplane, I need and they're like, if you sit in the emergency row, they're like, I need a verbal yes. So moving on, the Vedas, the first thing in Vedanta Sutra, which is the essence of Veda, is Atato Brahma Jigyasa, which means to inquire about Brahman, which means to inquire about the absolute. This is the first responsibility of a person in they say in the human who is a human, is we must first think, what are we actually doing here? Why are we here? What is our purpose? You must have asked yourself these questions. If not, why would you come here? Maybe you're just here for the good food, which I guarantee is coming up. But you must ask these questions also. And the Bhagavad Gita speaks about distraction, about this junk that we're talking about. And the Bhagavad Gita says, does somebody with a loud voice want to speak about this? Speak this, say this, repeat this? Krishna.
No.
Loudest voice I've ever heard.
I'm not going to do that. As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence.
So the Bhagavad Gita is saying this, that in chapter 2, Krishna is saying that just how we have like a boat and a strong wind can easily flow it. Just by, if you're trying to focus on something, your mind can get so distracted that you lose course. And I was into ships when I was growing up. I loved ships when I was a kid, and I learned about ships is that if you're like, let's say you're flying, you're sailing from London to New York. Now, if you change your degree of where you're going, even 1 degree, you can land up in like Boston, you can land up in like North Carolina, because even 1 degree off course can mean so much. So when you are dealing with distractions, uh, even a little bit can take a lot away. A little bit. They say illusion comes in like a needle and leaves like a plow. They're like, have you heard the story of, uh, there's a kid's book when I was growing up, Don't Give a Mouse a Cookie and Milk. You heard the story?
Yeah.
Yeah? So don't give the mouse a cookie, because then the mouse will be like, oh, can I have some milk? And then then you give it milk, and they're like, oh, can I have? I need a place to eat this, and then you give them a couch, and then they keep asking more and more and more. In the Vedic realm, Prabhupada gives this the same example, and then it translates to like, don't let a camel inside your house. So the camel is like, oh, it's so. He's telling like the person who's taking him. He's like, oh, can I just put my little nose in and just like, it's so cold outside, and he's like, okay, you can put your nose in, and then soon as the whole hut is destroyed, and then the camel's in, and the guy's out. So this is yeah, same thing if you ever go to India, which I hope we're organizing a retreat soon to be announced. That there's a story. There's this great sannyasi. His name is Tamal Krishna Swami, and he says a story when he was traveling from Delhi to Calcutta, and he sees this skinny little Indian man standing in, and he says, and he's sitting, and then Tamal Krishna Maharaj is like, oh, let me make some space so that this person can sit, and then and the man's like, oh, thank you so much, sir, thank you so much. And he brings his whole family to sit in that little space, because living in India, you have no respect for. There's no personal space, and there's no like personal comfort. It's like, especially in trains. In trains, there's no anybody who's been to India has experienced this. Yes. Anybody from Mumbai? Are you from Mumbai? You know Indian trains. To get on an Indian train, you don't have to get on. You just have to stand in the right place, and you get pushed on. You know? So Maya's kind of illusion is like this: is that it makes it look like, oh, it's just a little bit of laxity, and it takes a whole amount of thing. Now we'll continue to read what Krishna is saying in chapter 2. Anybody want to read this one? Lewis? I know he has a loud voice too.
A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires.
So the first duty of the absolute we established is Anandamayo Bhyasat. And we have so many desires that come in that kind of, we're trying to get happiness, and then these distractions start coming. Now, what do we do with that? Now, Krishna is giving a good prescription here. He's like, stay still. Stay fixed in your determination. And if you stay fixed in your determination, then actually, just like how an ocean, so many rivers are always flowing into it, but always it's staying constant. It's staying still. Now it might you may say, oh, it's taking over different areas of land at different places, but just understand the metaphor is that the ocean is always still, but it's never being agitated. So Krishna is recommending that to us, is that no matter how many things flow our way, so many distractions flow our way, let us be tolerant. Let us not always give up to our lower desires. Let's go for the higher taste. If you have a higher taste, lower tastes become very easy to overcome. Does somebody have an example of having a higher taste and then that helped you overcome a lower taste? Yes, Sevika.
I like to eat prashadam, for
Okay.
example, and because my taste now, I only want prashadam. I can't go out and enjoy foods like I used to, with like onions and garlic. And, even if it's vegetarian, I'm still not able to. So I would say that's the higher taste.
Wow.
I like prashadam now.
A convert. I'm thinking even on a more on a simple level. Like let's say you have something more sweet and less sweet. Like let's say you have something like a donut. You have a donut, and then you have something like an apple. So if you eat the donut first, and I've eaten many of those, I have my practical experience. If you eat the donut first and then the apple, how will the apple taste?
Not sweet.
It would be like, oh, this apple. But what if you eat the apple first? You're like, whoa, this is pretty sweet. And then the donut is actually even more sweeter. So same way, if you get a taste for kind of this spiritual life or the higher consciousness, then lower consciousness goes away. Krishna says a beautiful verse in the 5th chapter of the Gita, Yehi samsparsaja bhoga dukka yonaya evate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. He says, Yehi samsparsaja bhoga dukka yonaya evate. He says, if you try for happiness in matter, then dukkha yonaya evate. It'll always be a letdown. It'll always not be so what you want it to be. Every material thing, Krishna says, how does material things work? What is defined as material and spiritual? Adyanta vanta kaunteya. He says there is a adi and there's an anta, which in Sanskrit means there's a beginning and there's an end. This is the definition of what is material. So if an intelligent person starts to think that why am I investing my hopes into something that will end, it never brings me real content. This is what Krishna says. Na teshu ramate buddha. He says an intelligent person starts to think, let me invest in something that I can see some actual results in. So I have a little cartoon. I love cartoons. They're so informative sometimes. This is the cartoon. Carol, check my appointment book. Something's not right. So the businessman's like, I think I'm in the wrong place. So we can actually identify with this man. So unfortunately, most people today, they're not so happy. It's kind of sad. We as spiritualists, many people think when you join spiritual life, you kind of look down on others. But in the Vedic teachings, it's mentioned that a person on the spiritual path, he's para dukkha dukhi. Dukkha means sadness. So para dukkha dukhi means when I see someone else being sad, it makes me sad. So I must actually help this person to become happy.
Right.
That is my life. But actually, what do people kind of materially are kind of doing? They're para dukkha sukhi. That means I am happy when other people are sad. That if I get the job and you don't get the job, my job is to put you down and make you feel bad. Especially with guys. Guy friends are sometimes the worst. They're like always like the joke always goes on and trying to put you down. So unfortunately people are looking in the wrong place, and we actually feel very sad about that. So the whole purpose of spirituality, the whole purpose of kind of doing a practice is to reorient our vision. Don't get bogged down by just the mechanics of it. Okay, I come, I do my obeisances, I do my chanting, I play my little drum, and I blew my harmonium, and I eat this, and I don't eat that, and I do this. Don't get bogged down by just the rules and stuff. Always keep the ultimate goal in mind. Is we want to change in consciousness. We want to change in vision. Does that make sense? Krishna says this actually in the first thing in the Gita. He says to Arjuna. The first philosophical principle he says is Dehino svinyata dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatra na muyati. He says this body is a vehicle. He's not, when he says, Krishna says, okay, you fight. And then he sees Arjuna is not able to fight. Now he's trying to change his consciousness so that he knows why he's fighting. And he's saying, actually, this body is just a vehicle. And you are actually not this body. You're the soul who's actually the driver of this vehicle. And we should start, and if you looking to what to feed, start feeding the soul. You start connecting with actually who you really are. And once you start connecting with the spirit and the supreme spirit, this higher taste actually develops. This higher taste actually develops. And you can see actually practically, I found this nice cartoon, that after we see that when people are affluent and materially prosperous, and there's nothing wrong with that, don't get me wrong, and they're rich but often they're actually the most dissatisfied. These material things actually don't bring much happiness there, and when they actually come to, you get very opulent and affluent, then actually when you see that they don't bring as much happiness, then actually you actually become in a more depressed state because you find out there's no other alternative. I grew up in a very middle class neighborhood, but then when I would try to get to the temple, I had to go to really, really rich neighborhoods. We're talking like, okay, first of all, this is Ohio. So like, it's like $4-5 million houses, which are it's big money, in Ohio. And then so these places had like 8-9 bedrooms. And I had a school friend who lived there. And every time I would go to his house, his parents were never around. His mom was always working. His mom was a lawyer, and his dad owned like a big company, like a food distribution company, and they were never home. And then they had a babysitter taken care of. And I always noticed there was a different car parked in front of the house. On Mondays, it was the person taking care of the lawn. On the Tuesdays, it was a cleaning lady. On Wednesdays, it's this person. And I just realized they have more people working on the house than the time that they're spending in the house. They come back at like 6-7 o'clock and they sleep until like maybe like 8-9, and they wake up and they go to work, and then actually the people who are coming to work in the house, they're spending more time in the house than probably these people are spending in the house. So I was driving a Swami, a great saint, and through this neighborhood to get to the temple when I was like 17. And I was like, Maharaj, there's so many people. Look at these big houses; they're so beautiful. And this Swami just looked at me and while I was driving, and he said, "Look how desperately they're crying for something. They're not satisfied." The Bhagavatam says that if you're not satisfied with 6 feet of space to just sleep and put your things and a few things, you won't be satisfied with the whole universe. So when people build these big facades as $100 million house or the top of the penthouse or all these things, these are just, you can understand that these are just cries for fulfillment, but they're not actually being fulfilled because they would not, if they would just, if I give you a number, if I would have given them a number, how much money would satisfy you? Is there a number nowadays? It used to be like when I was a kid, how much money would you like? And it lasts you your whole life. $1 million. Now $1 million sooner, like that's not even that much. That's like, and that gives you like a 1-bedroom apartment in New York City. What's the number? 2 million, 3 billion. We have people who are worth over $100 billion in this world, and they still work every day, and they do so many like things that are not so good, and they're actually sometimes illegal. Why? Because they have this desire and it's not being fulfilled. So we all kind of went through this journey. So I'm not saying this is against being monetarily wealthy. This is not what I'm saying. I know many, there's one millionaire's house I went to in London, and he had a big program. He had a kirtan at his house, and I could generally see this person is not so attached to his money, because every year he goes to India and he takes 30 days off of his work and he sleeps on a bare floor living like the monks, and he reads for 6 hours a day, and he lives as kind of like an ascetic, and he does that. And genuinely, this is actually the most powerful. The point is not actually to have a lot of money, or to have no money like monks. The point is that you can genuinely say that even if there's $1 billion in my bank account, I am not so attached. I'm not so attached. I can live off my means. I can live simply. What do you need to live? Little rice dal, a little sandwich here and there. That's all. And like as monks, this is one practical thing, is that when I started Krishna consciousness, we all went through this journey. I was 12, and I was like 12 years old. My parents kind of introduced me to this, and I got slowly into it, and I went through college, and I'm like, do I really want to start taking this process seriously? There was no background. I was kind of separated from my parents in college, and I just saw that I didn't have like them like telling me, okay, you should chant now, encouraging me. I was on my own. I could do whatever I wanted. Nobody watching me. And I tried to enjoy, I tried to leave Krishna consciousness and tried to like, okay, let me try without it for some time. And I just got to this realization that Krishna consciousness or spirituality has a net positive in my life that nothing else can have. There's something into this process that if I don't practice it, I don't feel that fulfillment in anything else I try to do. Everything else is just a rat race for me. So that's what I kind of went through that thing. And then I joined the monastery. And then so I went from living in like a house with like a bedroom and all this. Now we live, Nick also lives there. Nick works on big job on Wall Street and this. But he voluntarily sleeps on a floor with all of us. And we have one shelf with all of our stuff that we have. And it's actually quite a nice life to live for some time. We have a Be a Monk challenge where you actually get to experience this. But it's a good training where you can live simply. Has anybody tried to live simply before? Yeah? Try to declutter. Maybe call 1-800-JUNK. Maybe we'll call them up. Maybe they can do a presentation. You've seen that TV show Hoarders?
Yeah.
You see that show? It's like, you don't know, these people are living in the hoard. They're living in the hoard. I see these things on Instagram. It's like, this lady loves to, her whole Instagram thing is going to hoarders' houses and just cleaning it up. And these people actually have they actually have a diagnosable medical disease that they always constantly want to keep collecting, hoarding, you know?
Yeah.
So, but we can't judge them because we do the exact same thing in minuscule proportions, right?
Yeah.
So this is the point, is that say no to junk. Stop collecting junk, either on the material platform, on the mental platform, on the spiritual platform. Go to be like a swan. The Vedas say that you must be like a Paramahamsa. Hamsa means swan. Parama means the greatest swan. You know what swans do? The swans, they go to a dirty pond and they see the lake and they put their beak and they collect the sweet water on the bottom of their beak, but they leave all the dirt on the top. So be essence seekers, be Paramahamsas who are actually looking for the essence of what life is. Don't get bogged down with just like the external coverings. So as I said, I'm not so humble, so I put a picture of myself on this slide. But it's kind of that we all go through this journey, and we have so many attachments that we have, and spirituality is like, it's like a rose bush is covered in thorns. So spirituality, you'll feel many thorns. Many people will try to encourage you that, hey man, you're taking this stuff way too seriously. You get like when I first joined the monastery, one of my close family friends, my parents, my close. First of all, it's a shock on your parents that you kind of want to, you kind of want, especially if you're from an immigrant family. Your family moved from. Okay, listen to how ridiculous this sounds. My parents moved from India to America to give me a better life. I get raised, I get grown, I get through college, and then I could have, and I joined a tradition and spirituality that it's from their country that they didn't have to spend all this money on me and do all this stuff. So from them, their point, it was a shock, but they're very supportive. They're very, very supportive people. But you may many my family friend, they said this is spiritual and this is material suicide. You can never explain monkhood on a resume. Which is like, yeah, it's like it's kind of scary to think about taking that jump. So, but spirituality requires some bravery. It's like the salmon, you know, the salmon swims upstream while everybody's swimming downstream. Is that you see a different aspect of the world that brings you a certain type of happiness that it is not adi, it doesn't have anta. It doesn't begin and it doesn't end. It is eternal. Once you get connected to that, everything else becomes quite minuscule. So, and we can and if we practice this with due diligence, we can be assured of true success and progress. So that's all I had for today. Does anybody have any comments, thoughts, questions that I can help you or you can help me? I would open it up for now. Thank you so much. Does anybody have anything?
Was that last slide from Tompkins Square Park?
That was from Union Square Park,
Oh, all right.
14th Street. That's where we were today also.
Yeah, I remember maybe it was from Srila Prabhupada. He gave an example of a beautiful elephant took a bath, and then he jumped into the mud again.
Mm.
So, like thinking about us, probably a lot of us chant Hare Krishna in the morning,
Mm.
and then they start watching YouTube,
Yeah.
Instagram, to get all dirty again.
Yeah. It's you need a constant. That's why it's so nice that I can I like to move around a little bit. I like to travel, because when you learn to travel a bit, you learn to pack light. If you anybody had the great honor and fortune of flying with Spirit Airlines?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I call it Spirit Soul Airlines.
Right.
Because it actually gets you attached to the soul more, because the way that they operate their airlines.
You don't know if it's gonna take off.
Yeah, you don't know if it's gonna take off. You think in the middle of the flight they're gonna be like, this is your captain speaking. Does anybody want to fly the plane now? But I actually appreciate Spirit Airlines. I took it twice in the last two months, and they kind of made me pack light. I packed in a backpack, and I went to my parents' house for 2 weeks to Ohio, and I was just, when I was in my shelf, even as monks, we have a tendency to over collect. I'm like, okay, what do I actually need? Because I only have a little gray backpack. What do I actually need for my stay in my parents' house? Okay, I need 2 dhotis. I need a couple shirts. And then when I came to my house, my parents were like, "You didn't bring anything at all." But I survived for 2 weeks. So, yeah, it's like you need that general, always have a cleansing mode. Always keep thinking, when I'm chanting or doing my meditation in the morning, how do I keep that going for the rest of the day?
Yeah.
How do I keep that meditation
And
going for the rest of the
sometimes the
day?
information you take in from those multimedia or media or whatever, it started to seeping into you when you're doing your japa. It started to creep in, and that is very dangerous,
Yeah,
and it's not worth it.
yeah,
But habit, when you form the habit, it's the Maya. It's very tricky.
yeah. Cultivate good habits. Good habits need to be cultivated. Bad habits do not need to be cultivated. You slip into bad habits, you cultivate good habits. Don't think that if you have a good habit right now, do never be under the illusion that this good habit will stay without you putting some extra energy into it. Always have some way of maintaining. Whatever you're maintaining, try to grow it. If you try to grow that good habit, naturally it'll be maintained. If you're always trying to get better, you'll maintain. But if you're trying to maintain something, it'll deteriorate. It'll deteriorate. Try to putting more goal, like newer and fresher goals. Like let's say I'm chanting like mantra meditation. I'm chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra on beats, and if I'm trying to incorporate a 10-minute practice, try putting a goal that maybe in 6 months I'll incorporate that into a 20-minute practice of spirituality. Or maybe instead of a time practice, instead of trying to grow your spirituality horizontally, try to grow it vertically. Okay, I'm not able to do more than 10 minutes, but let me make those 10 minutes the best 10 minutes I could ever do. Does that make sense? Many spiritualists try to do like they try to make horizontal vows. Like I know there's a special month called Kartik, which is coming up in October, and a lot of people take a lot of vows. Like some people think, okay, I'm not going to take any sweets. I'm going to chant like 2 hours a day. I'm going to do this. But at the end of the month, none of those got done. None of those got done. And I talked to one senior spiritualist, and I asked him, what do you say about this type of stuff? He said, instead of trying to go horizontal and try to grow the amount of things, fix yourself on one thing and try to go deep into that practice. Okay, I'm chanting 4 rounds, or I'm chanting 1 round, or I'm reading my Bhagavad Gita for 20 minutes a day. Let me go deeper into that. Let me see how I can go deeper into that. Does that make sense? Anybody else have any questions, comments? A reflection? I love reflections. Reflections are anything that you heard that you're gonna put in your pocket. If I had pockets, that you put in your pocket. Yes, Maria.
I made me check my screen time.
Oh.
6 hours and 30 minutes.
Ooh. Should I go around? Anybody want to check their screen time? Anyone want to take a moment? Nope. Okay, maybe. Yeah, this is an issue that I'm particularly passionate about. I love thinking about this because it's a very big aspect of our modern mature lives. There's when we did the digital detox retreat. I know Louis, Krishna, Christina, we were all there. And I beginning said, there's never been a time in my life that I've never been without screens. I was born in 1999. There's always been a TV. There's always been like I guess like people like His Grace Pancharatna Prabhu, they can remember a time without like, screens and like at least in your pocket, you know. I'm thinking that's like a magical place. That was like it was like heaven on earth, and the people were connected in this. But yeah, it's an amazing thing that we have. Anybody else have any other thoughts? Yes, Louis.
I'm thinking about what you said of like when you're in a boat and you go like 1 degree off, you can end up like in like a different country. But like it's the same the other way around. Like if we like go 1 degree like adjusting our things every month or whatever, it also has like a huge potential to change your life. So like even if you can just add 5 minutes of a new habit in your day, you know, like that in a year or whatever can make you in a new person, you know. So we're always like one step away of something amazing and one step away from something terrible. So it's like choices every day of what are my habits, because like what you do every day is what you become. So like if I can put 5 minutes a day to this or 10 minutes. And you have to like swim against the current, but
it's just the little steps. You know, like the longest journey ever was started with 1 step. You know, everybody started with something small. And I'll just share something that's been working for me. Like I'm trying to cultivate a new habit, a good habit that I'm trying to cultivate. I want to read 20 minutes of the Gita every day, and I was finding struggle doing that in New York before I went to my parents' house, and I'm just thinking, how do I incorporate? And I went to New Vrindavan, which is in West Virginia, and I talked to one of my mentors, And he gave me a great advice that I could share with you now. That he said, do something called coupling. Coupling. Find a habit that you're doing every day, like that you won't miss, like brushing your teeth. I hope everybody brushes their teeth, but like think about it. We brush our teeth in the morning. That's something that we do regularly. Now do that new habit that you're trying to cultivate. Do it right after something that you're going to do every day. So like right after you're brushing your teeth, read your 20 minutes of Gita, and it's been working for me. Like I do something every day. Like for example, I eat lunch. I eat lunch every day. 20 minutes before lunch starts. Lunch here is in the temple is at 1:30, and 20 minutes or 10 minutes before it starts, I just pick up my Gita. I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna do it, and it's become a routine now. I've been doing for like a week or two, and it's become quite nice. So coupling has been like just small things. Try to incorporate small things in your life. Yes, Christina.
Thank you for the lovely talk. You talked about how even a little Maya can creep in and, have impacts on your life. Could you speak a little bit to being able to extract the essence from things that people might consider Maya in your daily life and where that balance can be found?
How to seek the essence of things that people consider Maya, illusion. You have any specific example?
Like, I don't know, let's say media consumption
Yep.
is Maya.
Yeah, people consider media consumption Maya. Like in the spiritualist lens, even walking on the street without thinking about meditation, that like if you're doing like something mundane, like let's say brushing your teeth, you could say like that's Maya. But my meditation's always been like, how do I Prabhupada uses this word dovetail. That means like the definition of dovetail. Someone look up the definition of dovetail. I need a Webster's definition of dovetail. And don't tell me it's the tail of a dove.
Dovetail, I think, is to closely follow someone. No?
Closely follow.
It's interlocking.
Interlocking. That's something I'm thinking about.
Take two things and join them.
Yeah.
Dovetail comes from a carpentry
Yeah.
method, which looks like the tail of a dove.
The tail of a dove.
Dovetail. Where you take two things and connect them by matching
Like the
space
one piece. Yeah.
with the other, and then they become together.
Okay, that's dovetail. Any
Segue.
definition?
To fit skillfully to form a whole, or to fit together with.
Coupling. So like it's like to mix together. So when I'm trying to do something, like something that I would consider in normal circumstance material or Maya or illusion, like let's say scrolling on Instagram, how do I make this me watching the screen? How I have the desire to look at the screen, but how do I make this spiritual, or at least try to? In the beginning, how I thought to do this, okay, one thing that I can do that's the most spiritual is limit it. I was at that level of my life. Like, okay, I'm on Instagram for an hour a day. The least resistance step that I can do is at least limit it to 1 hour or 50 minutes. Put a lock on it. And further on, as I matured more, I'm like, okay, let me try looking at things on Instagram that were spiritual. And then let me go look at some darshans from different temples. Now, there's no shortage of Krishna conscious social media influencers, and I can point out a couple to you if you want to find some. So like that, little by little, I was trying to, and I'm not saying I'm perfect at all. The chart that we did of the months, that freaked me out more than anybody, and that's why I decided to share it. Is that Maya creeps in slowly, but it's all about how you try to dovetail things. That's how I always looked at it. Did you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And do you think that can apply to any activity?
I think there's no activity in this world that is outside the realm of spirituality. Because Krishna mentions in the Gita Urdhva Mula Madha Shakam, the first verse of the 15th chapter, that the material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. So anything material, what we consider material here, is a reflection of some action in the spiritual world, but it is perverted. It is just different. It is in the material consciousness. So in just like in that same lens, whatever material action we're doing can be changed in spiritual consciousness. Srila Prabhupada would say is that we're not trying to. You don't have to change how your job. You don't. It's not about how you dress. You don't have to shave your head. You don't have to give up your job. It's just a matter of consciousness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Thank you, Christina. Yes.
I just have a comment. Thank you for your talk, by the way. I enjoyed it. I was reading the book from Swami Jayadvaita Swami from our temple. Very interesting Vanity Karma. I'm sure you've read it. So the question about when we read about philosophy without religion, whether it is Ecclesiastes or we read Osho or Jiddu, the whole concepts are very similar in the sense that you don't need religion to appreciate philosophy. So because in Ecclesiastes, the Keole says, the wise and the fool go to the same grave. And basically disillusioned with the material world. Then he says you get all the spiritual knowledge, and then again you go to the same grave. Basically, how is a wise man smarter than the fool? So, and that the fool is basically is not bothered by all these different things which we have to worry about, as we try to gain more and more spiritual knowledge, thinking, oh my God, I ate an onion today, I ate a garlic today, oh my God, I drank coffee today, oh my God, what's going to happen when Krishna consciousness go away? So constantly, if we have to be, all these conditioning, like Jiddu, if you listen to his YouTube or Jai Krishnamurti, he talks about how our brain is being conditioned constantly by all these things where you say, you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that. And we listen to Osho, he says the same thing. He said the biggest problem in this world is two people, priests and politicians. They try to compartmentalize you into, you're basically a human being, and then they turn you around and make you into religions, into Hindus and Christians and Jews and Muslims. But basically you are just a human, and you have to appreciate being a human. So I'm just trying to figure out where you think, is it okay just to have philosophy without religion?
Srila Prabhupada says, I believe in the 3rd chapter, religion without philosophy is just that, and philosophy without religion is sentiment. So I believe that, of course,
I think the
other way around.
Yeah.
What is philosophy without religion?
Mental speculation.
Mental speculation.
Simply speculation. Philosophy without religion is mental.
It is mental
speculation.
speculation.
It is mental.
And religion without philosophy
Fanaticism.
sometimes can be fanaticism.
Correct.
Fanaticism. Yeah, that was the word. So
Pure sentiment.
of course, with the teaching of the Gita, we have that we are spirit souls, and we have and this philosophy is there, that we are kind of free little jivas, but there is a process that Krishna recommends, and he never forces himself upon Arjuna. He says Karishye vachanam tava. He says, do as you please. But Arjuna says, I have accepted what you have said, and I will I'll go through it fully. So this is how I kind of process it, is that I do things that are, there's one Goswami, he says is, Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya arjunam raksisyati vishwaso goptate. This first 2 words. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya arjunam. That I accept things that are favorable for my Krishna consciousness, spirituality, and I reject things that are unfavorable for my spirituality. And this is a very important principle to follow, because if we don't discriminate, if we have no discrimination, then actually we won't make much progress. Pancharnabu, would you have anything to say on this?
You should continue that verse because the anukuliyasya sankalpa, okay, giving up what is not favorable, and recognizing that some things are just not favorable. That's the point. Is that if we want to get somewhere, some things are going to stand in our way, and some things are going to help us. That's just in everything we do. There's going to be
that's
some
my
things that
question
happen.
is,
and
would
some
that
things are not.
at some point would it become dogma? Because
Well,
if we think in our minds.
If the goal, see the same author, Rupa Goswami, who gives us that verse, also says that there's only actually one rule. There's only one rule. Always remember Krishna. Never forget. That's the only rule. So everything that helps us to remember Krishna, that is anukulyasya sankalpa. That we take. And anything that makes us forget Krishna, then pratikulyasya varjan. We give that up. And then the other parts of that same, this is all considered, these are the 6 qualities of surrender. Because surrender is the path. Saranagati, the path of surrender. So next he says that, what's it go?
Rakshishya iti vishvasha.
Rakshishyati vishvasha. That having firm faith that Krishna will take care of it. I don't need all this other stuff. I know that Krishna will take care of me. That faith can help us navigate this thing here and this thing there. The next one, go prite varanam, to see that Krishna's there and he's my maintainer. He's taking care of me. Then atma nikshepa, having this sense of surrender, of giving oneself, and karpan, in humility. These 6 things, when they come together, that is surrender. And this is our path. This is the path that we're offering. Now, it's not, it may sound, surrender. I don't know about that.
Surrender sometimes has the context of like, I have a gun to your head.
I've given up, I'm defeated. But no, it's actually, it's victory through surrender.
Yes.
So we need to follow something.
Yeah. It's good to always have a path. So I know I'm running low on time. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'm here. You know where I live. I live right here. So thank you so much. And we're just going to stand up for a little bit of kirtan. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I need to introduce kirtan to anybody? Everybody kind of knows what they're doing?
I think so.
Nobody's going to fall over and pass away. Say because is yours wrong?
No. It's in the cover. Case.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.